All right, back with another episode of Talking Preps. It's been a while since we've done it like on video live like this. I got Cam and Dale and Jim West. You guys ready? I know you guys been doing. We just been doing the no video thing
Yeah.
on Spaces.
I'm ready.
Now you got to put your makeup on and look pretty. Here we go. I wanted to ask you guys right off the bat, what do you think is the best thing that the state should do in terms of hurricane lean and how best to handle it for the western part of the state and for the rest of the state? Jim, start with you.
I think right now anything has to be on the board. We want to be as equitable for everybody. Obviously, we have probably 85, 90% of the schools are still going to be playing. There were, maybe they've missed a game or two, but they'll be playing this weekend, the next week, and so forth. But then you have about 10 or 15% of the schools that we just don't know what's going to happen right now. I think right now we have to get as much information in before a final decision is made. I know that a lot of people are going to criticize whatever the high school association does, but I think right now though we just got to focus on what's important, and that's making sure those people in the western part of the state are safe, they're healthy, and they're taken care of. They're basically their basic necessities. Sports right now, it's hard for me to really get into what's equitable when it comes to the playoffs. But I think right now, though, we just got to, continue obtaining as much information as possible and do what's best for the entire state. This is not a Western North Carolina issue. It's not just a Western Highlands issue. This is a North Carolina issue. We have to resolve it together. And I mean, we're really hurting for the people that are impacted. And we got family, we got friends, and basically we just got to make sure that the solution is equitable for everybody.
Yeah. Cam, you had a very strong opinion in that chat. I don't know if you want to share it here, but what about your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, I mean, I'm with Jim in the fact that I think we do need to take into consideration what the western part of the state is going through. But for seniors in other parts of the state, I think it would truly be, for lack of better terms, just an atrocity to cancel what would be the chances of making the playoffs and making a state championship run. Because yes, I know sports don't top, the importance of what's going on in the western part of the state, but at the same time, I mean, these kids they play the sports because they love them and they're passionate about it. And when there's 90% of the state that may not be affected by the hurricane, then I don't think it's fair for them to miss out on what could be their final chance of making a state championship push.
Dale, do you think there's any way the state would say we're not going to have a playoff this year?
Well, they will have a decision on Wednesday, they say. I trust that if Q and the rest of the NCHSAA is allowed to make the decision on their own, that they will make the right and fair decision. Do I think there's a possibility? Sure, there's a possibility. Um, I don't think this is something that I look at this as I do a lot of solving of issues that involve lots of people. And in solving issues that involve or impacts a lot of different things, you have to have input from people that the various people that are involved to come up with the right solution. And I don't think this is any different. Thus, I may have an opinion, Jim and Cam may have an opinion, but ultimately you have to hear all opinions and you may change your opinion once you've heard some others. I would like to see it played, but I do believe that there's a possibility they could say it's not the equitable thing to do and that they don't. Um, so, you know, Langston, I'm just going to sit right now,
Right now.
just sit back and see what they say on Wednesday.
Yeah. Jim, no playoffs at all. Just stop the season in November 1. Just stop it.
I don't right now. I don't agree with that. I think we should have playoffs for the state. I also think that you always have to consider if there's anything else that can be done for the Western schools that were impacted on that. Knowing those people in the West, especially in the Western Highland area, that's in the Buncombe County, that's really seen the ravage of the storm. I don't think they would want us to just forego the playoffs. I think instead they want us to play. Uh, have all the schools play in the playoffs, and also to represent the state of North Carolina as well as we can. So, again, I think there's a lot of decisions on the plate. I also know Q Tucker. I consider Q to be a friend of mine, and I know that she has to meet with the boards, and they have to come up with some type of solution. And even if that solution is something I don't agree with, I will respect it. I do not want to be in that position of making that decision myself because there's so many people that are going to be upset no matter what you decide.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a tough thing. Well, we're going to pause it there. We're going to go see what the 3Gs, who the 3Gs picked as their players of the week. So we'll be back in just a second.
All right, man. Here we are once again going into week 8 of the 2024 high school football season. Got the 3Gs, Coach Gary Richmond, Coach Griner, the guru. Let's go ahead and take a look at the top performers who balled out and got to call this week or last week during week 7 of the season. We're going to start over there at Butler High School. Michael Bloomfield. By the way, Butler, their team, they're surging in a big win over East Mecklenburg. Bloomfield had 12 tackles. He's a dog, including 3 tackles for a loss. After an 0-4 start, Butler has won 3 straight. Coach Grice, that's a scary-looking team. Or Coach Griner, my bad, that's a scary-looking team. I know that's your alma mater. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I mean, I would change his name from Bloomfield to Boomfield, because he's got them big shoulders. Get them big shoulders just rocking people. He's got great vision, doing a great job. He's coming off the edge there. He does a phenomenal job. You got to have great vision. I love I think it's 42, man. He got the Ronnie Lott number. Is that 42? Can't beat that. Just, if you're going to be a dog, you might as well play for the Bulldogs right there. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I think Butler is starting to figure out what their new coaching staff expects of them. They had a real tough non-conference schedule, and I think he's an example of them starting to figure out how the new staff wants to play.
Yeah. I agree with that, Gary. Hey, I'm going to say this. Butler's going to be a team that's going to be a low seed probably, or a middle low seed because of their record. Man, I ain't going to want to be one of those high seeds having to play that team come playoff time. That's going to be a tough one. Let's move on. Let's go to some 1A football. Shamar Ellis over at Mountain Island Charter in a 40-8 victory over Winston-Salem Prep. Ellis had 8 tackles, a sack, and a 50-yard interception return for a touchdown. Another one of those dogs on defense, Coach Griner. What do we think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely doing everything for his team. And, it's hard to get a lot of recognition in the 1A football, and this guy makes this big of an impact. His team's loving life. I mean, anytime you can get defensive touchdowns, big plays, explosive plays, it just helps your team out on a whole different level. So, big time, kudos to you and Mountain Island Charter, what you're doing there.
Yeah, those plays impact drives tremendously. Like I've said throughout the season, if your defense can get a sack, can get a tackle for loss, chances are that's one less possession that team is going to have to score. When offenses have a penalty, they have a sack, they have a tackle for loss, it's hard to come back from that in a series.
Yeah, no kidding. I want to say this, a lot of schools in the area have turf, but for a 1A school, that turf over there in Mountain Island Charter looked really good on film. That popped out of the camera. Hey, let's move on down to Olympic High School. Reese Graham in a 56-0 victory this week. Graham caught 2 passes for 40 yards, ran 6 times for 60 yards and a touchdown, and an 83-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Man, that's some big-time numbers.
Yeah, anytime, like you said, impacting on big plays, we're talking about special teams, defensive touchdowns, any of those nature, it changes the course of the game. Explosive plays can really set the team in motion. It makes everybody get excited. I bet you whenever he's turning a kickoff for a touchdown, the whole sideline's jumping. It's getting rowdy. Everybody's playing at a different level. So those are high-impact plays helping this team. Big-time explosive things. They energize the entire team. It's big time for them.
And this is why you don't want to see high school go to the NFL model. You don't see these explosive kickoff returns using the NFL model. I like this traditional kick it deep, everybody sprint downfield, and you got a chance of special teams impacting the game a lot more than they do in the NFL model.
Yeah, I really agree with you on that NFL kicking model. Let's stick to what we got here at the high school.
We're not booming in the end zone like they are everywhere. Like, well, I don't know. Baker always keeps them in the back pocket over there at Hough. They probably got about 4 kickers that can kick it in the end zone.
All right. Hey, we got one more here that got the call. Jamari Nichols, sophomore quarterback, West Charlotte. He led the Lions to a 47-0 victory over Hopewell last week, completing 13 of 17 passes for 252 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jamari also ran the ball 4 times for 79 yards and 2 more scores. Man, you ball like that, you're going to get to call, Jamari. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Coach Griner, this is your guy. This is your dude. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I mean, unreal special, sophomore quarterback. He's getting better each week. I mean, you look at the film, tight release, really understanding the offense, taking, the guys to the next level. And he's deadly with his legs. I mean, that right there, he's a fast guy. A lot of people don't give him credit for his speed, but I mean, we clocked him. I don't want to throw his clock out there, but it's pretty fast. It's pretty daggone fast. And just organize his whole team to get the nod. I mean, he's had a guy that literally was the player of the year as an athlete, a quarterback, to get the nod. That's the question I got to ask for you. What was that like, when kind of KD kind of came to you and said, look, man, it's time for you to take this thing over and at the helm?
Just him coming and taking me in, working with me every day, giving me the confidence, telling me I could do it. And me seeing him do it, it's just like, oh, I could do it too then.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that
what was it like teaching Coach Griner how to throw the ball? He didn't throw it like this until you came along. What did you have to say to get him to let you throw the ball like this?
I had to build trust. For real, just had to build trust with him. Coach think he can play every sport in the world.
Oh, God, here we go. So, all right. You don't think I can play any sports? I know this is about you, but you don't think I'm good at sports?
Coach can play any sport.
Well, Coach Griner told us he coaches the flag football team.
No, I
think he says he can coach tennis. What other sport do you think Coach Griner could coach?
He loved pickleball.
Okay.
Wow. Well, I know a little bit about Coach Griner's tennis. We've had a little go around once or twice. But hey, tell me about going up against Hough.
We're expecting to go over our scheme and dominate. Practice, hit the weight room, make sure everything good in school. Make sure we have a great week so we can have a great game this week.
Yeah, coming on a short week, do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage? I mean, both teams playing a day early. What's your opinion on that?
I feel like it's even. We both have an advantage. Then it's just a day off, but it's still the same. We still both got the same mindset just to win the game.
Okay. All right. Well, good deal, Jamari. Congratulations on balling out and getting the call. All you guys out there watching, you ball, you get the call here on the 3Gs. Week 8 of the high school football season. This is the best show in high school football. We'll get you guys next week.
Okay, guys, so we're back. I did want to rejoin our little group talk. And next year, Jim, the state's going to 8 classes. What's the best way for the NCHSA to assemble its conferences once they do?
Assembling the conferences, good luck is the only thing I can say right now. You're going to have so many 3A, 4A, 5A classifications, 4A, 5A, 6A, conferences. You're going to have split conferences everywhere. I imagine probably 80% of the schools will be in some type of split conferences. And, the bottom line is I don't want to have it where we have certain areas like northeastern part of the state. You're going to have Currituck that might be a 5A team surrounded by a bunch of 2A and 3A teams. That's going to be hard for them. You go over to McDowell County, which is probably going to be a 7A or 8A team. There's not going to be a lot of teams that are that size around them. So it's going to be a challenge to say the least. And I was a statistics major back in college, and I remember taking some operational research. where you have all these variables that you had um, to navigate. And I think even the best OR majors would have a challenge trying to find everything to make it more sense. So,
Dale, what do you think? It's particularly in
Well,
Charlotte. Like, should CMS try to have one or two classifications of conference, or do they need
CMS
to
can
go out and marry with some other counties?
CMS can have 3 conferences, uh, just like we have now. I don't think CMS is is an area that's going to be impacted by this. I think this is going to be more of an issue of things like Jim said, McDowell County, where you think about 2 schools up in that area, including Watauga, and you look at what's around them. You're going to have 2 big schools. They don't have a lot of big schools around them, so we're going to end up having some wild split conferences. I think you had asked the question about, and I thought about this a moment, could conferences across the state align by county?
Mm-hmm.
But we're still going to have these situations where we have the 1A, 2A schools very close to some big 7, 8A schools, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you put that together without teams having a lot of travel. Maybe like some Alexander Centrals and such having to play over with the Iredell County schools.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, would counties start, merging a little bit more to try to make it work? I mean, like in Cam's case, Cabarrus County, we have some teams that are larger, some teams that are smaller. What do you think, Cam? Do we see some more of that Cabarrus MEC action like we used to see?
You might. Like I know, for example, I mean, like where my brother goes to school, West Cabarrus, their student population is pretty large, whereas you got a school like Northwest Cabarrus whose population has dwindled a little bit. They'd be like, if we were back in the AA era, they'd probably be 3 single A, whereas West Cabarrus would be pushing the 4 AA. So yeah, we could definitely see some odd conferences being formed, and I'm personally not a big fan of it because I think it causes a lot more travel, and I think it puts just a lot of odd matchups when it comes to conference play.
Yeah, I think it's going to definitely be an interesting dynamic. I think it's going to take some getting used to. I do like the idea of A class. Do you like A classes, Dale? Do you like that?
No,
No,
because I think the dynamics of it. This is one of the things that I know Jim and I and other people, Chris, we've all played with for decades now about how we would do alignments. When it comes up time for alignment, everybody used to get together in forums and all and throw together your own alignments. And as you look at the number of classifications, somewhere in that 5 to 6 classification would have given us less split conferences.
I think Guru always says 6. I think he's always said 6. I think that was always kind of the magic number. But I do like having more. I think maybe I misspoke. I think 8 may be too many. But more teams will have a chance to win state championships, particularly in non-football sports. I don't know that every sport is going to have 8 championships, though. I think some sports will still have 5 or 6. I just don't see.
Why would not
all the teams don't play? They're split championships now, like 1A, 2A splits in a lot of sports.
Yeah, but you look at things like basketball. I don't know, but aren't there more basketball players?
I think there'll be 8 in basketball. I think like in soccer and field hockey and lacrosse and sports like that, you'll probably have fewer championships.
Yeah, we don't even have in Mecklenburg County everybody playing lacrosse or rugby. But things like tennis and maybe golf, and I agree, baseball maybe. But yeah, some sports like soccer is not as. But is soccer? Soccer's probably about the same number of.
Soccer splits, and they split 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. In the girls, I think, and the boys, I think they have all 4. But yeah, there's some splits. in lacrosse as well. So we'll have to see what happens. But I don't think they'll be 8 in all sports. I know they won't be 8 in all sports.
There will not be in all 8 sports. I could agree with that.
All right, Jim. Cam, I wanted to ask you. We talk a lot about 4A on this show, but is 3A the strongest class in the state? The top 5 teams in Chris's new poll are undefeated. J.N. Robinson's undefeated. South Point's undefeated. Crest lost to South Point. That's a really strong classification. How strong is the class? How good is the Hickory team on top of it?
Yeah. Is it the strongest classification? I don't think so. But just because once a lot of these teams get in conference play, they're not playing as strong as of teams that they played in their non-conference. Mm-hmm. When it comes to Hickory, man, I dare say they're as good as pretty much any 4A team, maybe minus 1 or 2 teams, and that might be like Weddington and Grimsley. The Hickory is the truth. Their quarterback, Brady Stober, came back from a great season last year, averaging over 230 through the air per game. Really incredible. Running back Isaiah Lackey, going for about 95 on the ground per game. And then, Brady's got a lot of weapons to use as well. I think he's got 2 or 3 guys averaging over 60 yards receiving a game. And they're hanging 50, 45 plus like every week, it seems like. They played a tough East Lincoln team, and I think blanked them 40-something to 20-something. So Hickory is, in my opinion, they're definitely the best. I look forward to a Hickory-Dudley rematch of what was the best playoff game in the state last year, narrow 42-41 victory for Hickory in the playoffs. So if that matchup happens again, I may have to go to that game.
Jim, how good are 71st and Northern Nash?
71st Northern Nash are really good. I like Havelock. I like Jacksonville. I know those were two other teams who are in the in Chris's list there. The one thing I like about 3A, it's balanced. It seems like the western part of the state, it definitely has the power in 1A. Tarboro pretty much equalizes everybody out in 1A. They have the balance. They have the power in the 2A. They have a lot more powerful teams in the 4A. The 3A is kind of even. I really don't see a lot of difference between like Hickory and Dudley and 71st in the 3A. I think those 3 teams are really, really good. I think West Charlotte is right there with them. I think there's Jacksonville, Havelock. I know Havelock lost to New Bern. Jacksonville actually beat New Bern. So I like 3A. It's balanced. It's going to be a fun classification this year.
All right, Jim, while you're talking, talk to me about some big 3A games this weekend.
Well, my big one right now, if all of them, I do like the idea of Jacksonville and Havelock. I believe that game is at Havelock. They do have one team that they played against each other. They both of them played New Bern, the Bears. Havelock lost New Bern by a point, and Jacksonville beat them by 10 points. I do think those 2 teams are pretty even. I think Havelock's pass offense is going to be a really tough battle for Jacksonville, but Jacksonville has a really good defense. So to me, this game feels like a coin flip. The very first one you have on the list, Millbrook at Rollsville. I know Millbrook is undefeated. Rollsville, their one loss was to Grimsley. They did beat Cardinal Gibbons earlier on in the season. Both teams know how to pass the ball. The big question is, can Millbrook's defense, can they stop the Rams' passing attack? The Western Alamance and Williams, this is the battle over in Alamance County. Both teams are pretty balanced when it comes to offense. I do think that Williams' offensive attack is a little bit stronger than Western's offensive attack. Defense maybe give a little edge to Western. This is going to be a decision about which one of these teams actually can emerge from maybe a contender status to a favorite status. Right now, I have to give the edge to Williams. And my last one here, this is kind of kind of an emotional. Okay, I actually put down the text here earlier on. To me, there's a lot of heartstrings in this battle. Brian Till used to be the head football coach at Richmond.
The show, Brian Till.
And I like Brian Till quite a bit. I think he's a great coach. He's done a really good job at Union Pine so far this season. They did have one loss to Randleman. Randleman's an undefeated team, by the way. Richmond is strong right now. It's hard to go against Richmond at this point, but a lot of emotions on this game.
Yeah, it should be fun. All right, well, that's all the big games in the East. We're going to go to the guru to tell you about the big games in the Charlotte area right after this.
Hello again, everybody. This is Chris Hough coming to you. Chris's Big Three going into week 8 of the high school football season. It's been an up and down year. This has been a year, no doubt. Past 2 or 3 weeks seems like it's been a month with all the storms and the canceled games and everything like that. And again, I said it last week, but I don't want to say it again. My heartfelt condolences and just thoughts and feelings and prayers for all the people that are affected out there in Western North Carolina. That's a lot to deal with. And again, I want to double down on something I said last week. High school football does not matter at this point, especially for those that are affected by the storm. We want to see them eventually get up and get on their feet and one day get back playing football. But you guys just take care for right now. We'll let these other teams carry the weight for the time being. We got a lot of big games around the state. There's a lot for me to pick from, but sticking here to the Queen City and the Charlotte Observer coverage area, I got a couple that I want to talk about. The first one right here is going to be Olympic at Palisades. We talked a little bit about Olympic in our 3Gs. Had some big time performances by just about everybody on that team up against Ballantyne Ridge last week. Talked about Reese Graham, what a performance there. However, it's not going to be Ballantyne Ridge Friday night. They're going to have to step up their game and then some against a really hungry Palisades team. Olympic versus Palisades. That's going to be a big time game. We saw Palisades in what I thought could be a trap game last week step up. That South Mecklenburg team, they're a lot better, and I think that record suggests. So that's going to be a big time game. Moving on down to Weddington at Porter Ridge. What more can you say? Porter Ridge, they had that slip up last week. There's nothing to hang your head down about a 22-21 loss to Marvin Ridge. Marvin Ridge has shown that they can play big boy football. In fact, the entire Union County is pretty much playing big time big boy football. Every week seems to be big time high school football. Weddington, they're the number one team in both states. So, there's no denying that, no question about that. That's going to be an enormous game down there in Union County. But there's really one game that I wanted to talk to. This is so big that we had to bring on some coaches to kind of talk about this one here. But we got Hough traveling down to West Charlotte to take on the Lions. Coach Baker, I got Coach Griner here. Coach Baker, welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How you doing, man? Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, tell us, you're going against Griner's team. I'm going to let you go first because Griner steals all the air out of the room. So we're going to give you the green light right now to talk about the team. But tell me what it is about this West Charlotte team. I know they're 3A, but I don't think that really matters. They're still in your conference. They're playing a meaty schedule against the best of the best as well. What scares you, and how do you feel about that team?
Man, you know what? We don't go into the game looking at it as their 3A team, and they're really talented, man. He has some really good ball players. That defensive front is probably gonna be one of the best we've seen all year. And the linebacker he has is pretty good. He can really run. And those two safeties, 14 and 9, they're really good, man. They can move around. They're really fast. They spin to the ball really quick. And offensively, man, he has so many formations that you had to deal with. And so, we just trying to get ready for the direct snap, And but that team he has, man, they're really talented, man. He has some really good ballers, man. And like you said, the quarterback that he has, man, he's talented. He's talented because if he get outside the pocket, like you said, he can hurt you with his legs.
Coach Griner, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, this is not a rivalry until we're able to win a game. We got to be able to beat Hough. Hough has been a dominant team of this conference. I think it's the best conference in North Carolina. The defenses that you have to go against in the conference are unbelievable, and Hough is at the top on the defense standard. And now offensively, when they're putting up 50 points a game, it makes it very difficult to go against a team like that. They've always won games in the past, the last few years, of just strictly defense, and they could kick, the weapon with the field goal kicker. But now they got, quarterback, he's up for player of the year. You got running backs galore. They got a stable of those guys. The O-line's big. Receivers are phenomenal. Defensive front. I mean, coached by, he's got literally an all-star staff of like 97 coaches. And they all have like one role. They all get to coach. Like one gets to coach a guard. The other one coaches just the 3 techniques. It's pretty nice to have. And he drives around a golf cart all day. It's kind of crazy. I wish I could do something like that.
I wish I could too.
Hey, Coach Baker, tell me about this offense. I mean, you guys have just been explosive. I mean, just scoring points like crazy. But you've also, I mean, you've clamped it down on defense, and you've kind of you know used to just be a defensive team, but now you're just blowing everybody out on the offensive side. Tell us how you guys made that transition and how this year kind of come together.
Man, it's again, last year was my first year with the kids. When I left Hough the first year or the first time, I knew none of these kids, so we still had to get to learn each other. And it took us, I don't know, 9-10 weeks last year. And Trey was a first year starting quarterback on varsity. And I think this year, man, it's just the trust factor. I really didn't want to throw the ball in the red zone last year because Trey was being so young and we were careless with the ball a lot early in the season last year. And this year, man, he's a film junkie. Like, he calls me and tells me, like, hey, coach, I want to take this out. I want to do this. I want to take this out. And so, I give him the ability to give me his first 6 plays in the first 10. So I would just say, man, just the, attention to detail that he brings. Everybody's on board for him now. Everybody's rooting for him. And so, I would just say, quarterback play, man, like and, when you're running the ball well and you got weapons outside you can throw the ball to, that helps a lot. So everybody know Baker likes to run the ball. So, so it is what it is.
Man, this guy, don't let him fool you. Like, we got the percentages too. The man's 64, 40, 44 runs, something like that. I don't know. It's definitely heavier on the pass. Like, that sucker throwing the ball. Don't let him fool you.
It's 58-52, right?
Is that what?
Hey, Coach Brunner, I'm going to give you the last word, Coach Brunner. But, both your teams are explosive. But I think that it's going to come down to a defensive stop by one of you guys. It's probably going to determine the outcome of this game. What's going to be your key to this one, Coach Griner? I'm going to let you finish.
To be honest with you, it's the home field. Hough, they have the ability to be great at home everywhere they play, but we've played at their place 3 years in a row. We played there, back-to-back years. We didn't have a home front, and we at the time the field was jacked up. Playing on the grass. So we played at Hough the year before and got the gate. They were able to do that for us. This is the first time being a play in front of our fans. And it's something special about West Charlotte. It's a great environment. We got the food trucks out there. The fish is smelling great. And hopefully it just lures people in to like, man, this is a great time. And at halftime, hopefully they're just enjoying just trying to get a plate and maybe we can pull through. We'll see.
Wow. Well, coaches, good luck to both of y'all Friday night. It's going to be an enormous game. We're going to be right back after this for some coach versus coach. So, guys, stay tuned.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
All right, as always, Coach Griner is going to defer to the second half. Gary Richmond, this one's going to come at you. Hey, simple question. Is Butler back? The Bulldogs have won 3 in a row. Are they ready to challenge for the league title?
Yes, I think they are. They've been toughened up by what I think is the toughest non-conference schedule
in the state,
at least in Mecklenburg County, if not the state. I think they're ready to make some strides, and even though they may not get as high a seed in the state playoffs as they're used to, I think they're going to shock some people in the early rounds because they're going to look at their record and underestimate them. I think the Butler Bulldogs are back.
Yeah, I think that they had the second hardest. The first hardest schedule, I would say Mallet Creek had the hardest schedule going in non-conference, but it's definitely up there. It's to be determined, to be honest with you. They haven't played the super caliber team of what they've played the first 4 games. You'll see that versus Catholic and an Independence. Do they have a chance to beat both of those teams? Without a doubt, because they're battle tested. I'm hoping that they're back. Alma Mater, I'm pulling for the Bulldogs. That we don't play them in the playoffs. I'm rooting hard for those guys. I want them to take the trophy back. Or they got the trophy and then they lost in the playoffs. They don't play for the trophy versus Independence. But I'm hoping – don't sleep on Catholic, though. I mean, Catholic's sneaky good, and they can easily win the conference. So we'll see. I think that they're starting to get their identity going like they did in the past when they got to Vance. now known as Chambers. So I think it takes them a little bit of time to put their identity on the team, and hopefully they're able to roll and get it going.
All right. We're going to stick right here with you, Coach Griner. Should the NCHSAA pause the season for a week or two or find another solution to help out those Western North Carolina teams?
I don't think that they should pause. There's too many things that can happen. There's, the majority of the states got to keep on rolling. I think that they should have another solution. Gary's got a cool plan to what they can do. What can we do to help them out? And then I don't know if it's going to be paused for a week or two. We're talking about maybe 2 teams or a few teams can come back in weeks or 1 or 2. But then there's a lot of teams that ain't going to be able to come back for maybe a month or 2. And what are we going to do? Maybe, or at all. I think there's a way that you can possibly, if they're seeing, these programs want to come together and you do something in the spring for them. And we're just praying for them that they get back to daily living. I don't know if they, want to do this. And this is a show for talking about sports and football. And we hope that they can get back. But I think there's another solution. We don't have the answer for that. Smarter people like Gary can figure things like that out.
Well, I think Sam kind of touched on a lot of what I would have said. I don't think you can pause. You still have 80% of the schools in the state of North Carolina that, weren't affected by the hurricane. But that doesn't mean we need to forget about the schools in Western North Carolina. What happened was to no fault of their own either. So, if the state can do something for them, give them a separate classification. You don't want them rushing to get back just to play football. Life is more important. Having a place to stay, electricity, shelter, food, internet, all the things that, we kind of take for granted right now that they're struggling with are more important. And then just getting school open so they can get back into a daily routine. Once that happens, I'm thinking that, the playoffs might be over by the time they can get back into a daily routine. Hopefully they can get going for the winter sports, and then state can do something for them in the spring. That's my hope. But I don't think they need to rush to put football ahead of life, because getting back to daily life is more important.
Yeah. All right. Hey, final question, Gary. I'm going to leave it right here with you. 15 Charlotte area kids made the Shrine Bowl this year. But does the Shrine Bowl really matter? Does it still matter here in the state of North Carolina?
You know what? It matters to those kids who the Shrine Bowl supports, who those Shriners support. So yes, it still matters.
Yeah. Amen.
Does it matter to the kids that play in the game? Yeah, the ones that get selected, because they get a chance to compete one more time. They get a chance to be seen one more time. That might be the chance. That game might be the game where they get a college offer. I know back when the Shrine Bowl was big in the 90s, the principals I had, if we had a kid on the team that was playing in the Shrine Bowl, they let the coaches have, a couple of days, not a couple, but let us miss a couple of classes maybe and go watch practice. And it used to be jam-packed with coaches from all around the state, South Carolina, North Carolina. And that was their opportunity to get an offer if they didn't already have one, because just the practices alone got them attention. So I think it still matters to the kids that are selected, but most importantly, it matters to the Shriners who support those disabled kids.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, let's not forget about what the Shrine Bowl does. I think that during COVID, they lost their way a little bit. But the state is better. Football is better when we have the Shrine Bowl at its highest peak. I think that we had some of the top-notch players playing in it. Now we have some other venues that are happening, which, that are great too. Anytime we have venues that kids can play in all-star games and get to be out there, those seniors, it's an amazing experience. I loved back in the day where it was such a big deal of community service. And I hope that they still do this, that those kids get out of school for a week, but they're going to serve. They're going to hospitals of burnt victims and spending time and learning about life and how great an opportunity they got of playing the sport. I think that the Shrine Bowl was so phenomenal, just not just the football game, but the aspect of life of what they were teaching. Hoping that they're getting back to that standard. I really liked it when they had practice in the Charlotte area. It's a heavy media area in Charlotte.
It was great when it was at Butler.
Oh,
Remember when it was at Butler, Sam? And Butler had an upper
phenomenal.
field that's now a parking lot, and you had South Carolina practicing on one field, and you had North Carolina practicing on the game field, and they would swap. And the coaches just got to go between fields to see all of the players.
It was a who's who of college coaches. Phil Fulmer, Bobby Bowden, they were all there back in those days.
Yeah.
And I think that they got to be able to come back and do those scenarios again. I just think it's great for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's do a better job of that, no doubt.
I agree, man. And hey, it looks like we got the whole cast back on the show talking preps. But just to kind of finish out the statement, guys, Shrine Bowl is the oldest all-star game in the nation. They've been playing since 1937. And like you said, they kind of hit some hard times during COVID. But you got to look at what they do for the kids in that hospital and the money they try to raise for the communities and what they do. I had a chance to work with the Shrine Bowl for about 10 years. And they're good people. And, I think that game does matter. What I want to see, though, is it come back home to Charlotte. And I think it would go to levels just way up in the air if we could make that happen one day.
Yeah, I think
what we got to do is we got to mend that issue between the North Carolina Shriners and South Carolina Shriners. That's what needs to be fixed.
I also think, guys, that the other All-Star games kind of took away the luster of the Shrine Bowl. I mean, Chris was talking about how it used to be a who's who. A lot of those who's who guys are now playing in, the Army All-America game or the Under Armour All-America game, and they don't even that's the game they want to play in now. And then here in Charlotte, you have an All-Star game. This Queen City All-Star game. There's an All-Star game down in Spartanburg to draw Charlotte kids. The East-West All-Star games in Greensboro in December. There's just so many games now that it just hurts the Shrine Bowl a little bit. But Jim, I'm curious, what is the effect of the Shrine Bowl in the eastern part of the state? The kids think about playing there as a big deal because it's so far away and so far removed from them.
I think it's not not nearly as big in the East as it is in the West. Now, if you talk to the coaches, especially certain coaches, they want to be on the staffs. They would love to be the head coach of the Shrine Bowl. But for the kids, I think it's I think the kids in the Mecklenburg, the western part of the state, maybe they have a different appreciation or it's more into their culture than it is in the eastern part of the state.
Yeah, Cam is.
I'm gonna be honest with you. They could, if they want to bring it back, they got to change with the times a little bit too. What's something bigger that's involving these other games is the social media aspect. There's no Shrine Bowl social media aspect, like say Talking Preps were involved or something about the Shrine Bowl, because I really appreciate something like that. I think it's something we need to talk about more.
Well, they have done like the selection show is being streamed on Ankle Sports. They're streaming the game of Ankle Sports. I just think the biggest problem with Shrine Bowl is where it is. It's just it's too far away in Spartanburg. It's very South Carolina centric. It's in a really small media market. Charlotte is in the middle of both states. It's the perfect place to have it. It's the biggest media market in the Carolinas. It's where it should be, and the kids will get maximum exposure. Cam is a young guy on our group. Does the Shrine Bowl still matter to young people?
It hadn't mattered since I was in high school, and that's been 6 years ago. It's not something talked about. It's not something really coveted. Like we've all mentioned already, it's because of the fact there's so many other games to play in that have more, I guess, modern prestige, if you will. So, yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a thing in quite some time.
How could they make it a thing again? As a young person,
I have no idea. I mean,
no idea.
I guess make it more flashy. I mean, give them the goodie bags like we talked about last year when we had this discussion. I know Under Armour they give out lots of stuff to the athletes when they go up to play that game.
Maybe if they partnered with one of the shoe companies, Under Armour has their deal. If they could partner with Nike, or one of the shoe companies, that might get the attention that they desire.
I think
that's what is not happening now that used to happen. When I was in high school, you walk down the halls in school and you would see posters up and papers up about the Shrine Bowl. Now, of course, the Shrine Bowl was being played in Charlotte. And again, to get the Shrine Bowl back to Charlotte, you've got to get the North Carolina Shriners back involved in it. Until they get back involved, those guys down in Spartanburg are not going to move the game up here.
Well, whatever they do, I just think they need to get with some media savvy people like Sam was talking about, because when you got a guy like Cam telling you it doesn't matter to young people, that's the reality. I mean, we're all older guys and we can talk about the good old days when everybody came to practice and the kids did look forward to playing in the Shrine Bowl. But the point of the matter is, as Cam is telling you, the guys are looking for, they want to play in the Army game. If I look at David Sanders' social media, it doesn't talk about the Shrine Bowl. He talks about, I'm going to San Antonio. That's what he's excited about. And we got to figure out a way to get kids excited about playing in the game that's here. And I think the biggest thing you can do is A, get that social media presence Sam's talking about. B, get that game moved back to a larger media market. It's just not going to
it's got to get marketed. It's got to get marketed, and that's one of the things that's not happening.
It's not going to happen.
Got to get marketed to the schools, to the coaches.
Yeah.
The coaches.
Now one of the things initially, Panther Stadium was supposed to be a host at one time, so you would think
Carolina Panthers. It's not North Carolina.
But it would be nice for the kids.
It's not North Carolina Panthers or South Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers.
Carolina
Shrine Bowl is the Carolina Shrine Bowl.
I think Mr. Tepper could get behind that, and that could be the impetus, Gary, to blow the thing up. If you could get the Panthers and Mr. Tepper behind.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've coached in that All-American game in San Antonio a couple times, and they give you a bag. They give you a bag of worth of probably $800 worth of gear, and those kids. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, it's a lot. If they were able to partner up with someone like that. These kids are all about, oh man, I get the bag. They would drop a new piece of gear each day of the week that they're there.
You know who can make that happen, Sam? David Tepper can make that happen.
Oh yeah, easily.
He's got to want to.
Yeah, the people that make the decisions.
He does want to get involved.
Langston, the people that make the decisions in the Shriners.
Yes.
That's where change has to occur. We can want that. The Carolina Panthers could step in and offer all these things, but unless the Shriners down in Spartanburg are willing to make that change, it ain't going to happen. And they're kind of resistant. I think
they're happy getting 2,000 or 3,000 people to come to Spartanburg High School and having a football game and thinking that's successful. But each year that happens, the further and further away from relevancy they get. I think the Shrine Bowl has about 5 to 7 more years before people just like, man.
That's sad because
I mean, I talk.
It's already there. I think
I talk to kids all the time. I mean, I had a kid last week tell me, "What's the Shrine Bowl?" Ask me, "What's the Shrine Bowl?"
That's right.
I mean, look what Chris
said. That's because coaches don't talk about it.
This was a power forward kid that told me.
Well, how many coaches though in high school talk about it? When I was in high school, coaches talked about it.
But
which one of you guys is going to be on the Shrine Bowl? Yeah. That was what we heard at practice at the beginning of the season, in those 2-a-day workouts. Who's going to work to get themselves to the Shrine Bowl? You'd hear that kind of stuff. Today, I think the Shrine Bowl is even mentioned by coaches.
And now they're talking about who's going to San Antonio, who's going to Orlando. That's what they're talking about now.
Yeah, the game's not as competitive. The game's not as competitive sometimes, not because of talent, but think about this too. South Carolina in the past, when they used to play, they used to have 2 weeks to practice. North Carolina had 1 week to practice.
Yeah.
You're talking about one team was just now finishing the state championship. The other one finished a week before.
Yeah.
They got to come together and figure out where it's dead even on that aspect, because a lot of the good kids will just get on the state championship game.
The Shrine Bowl had a combine. When North Carolina kept losing every year, they created a combine for the North Carolina kids to try out prior to the season, and then they would be selected before playing the season, and that kind of evened things up. But the biggest problem, Sam, is North Carolina used to play their state championship the week of the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have those guys that are helping win. That's what I'm saying. It was something like that. Yeah.
All right, let's let Chris put a button on this discussion, and we'll close out. Chris, go ahead.
No, I mean, again, I'm going to kind of double down and say I truly support the Shrine Bowl and what they've done. Again, it's 1937, founded right here in Charlotte. I mean, it's been a great game that has elevated a ton of top NFL players. I think there's hundreds of NFL players that came through and played in that Shrine Bowl, including several number one overall picks. So, I mean, there's no question the game itself on the field has been phenomenal, and also no question of the tangible assets that the Shriners, through all of their cumulative efforts throughout the year, have made raising money for the hospital. So that's the biggest thing I want to put the eye on. Is make sure that we don't lose sight of that. But when it comes to that game, I really wish that they would relinquish some of the control to maybe some more football people and let the football people run the game and let the Shriners come in and just have a big old party and take the credit and give the check and make the money and do what they do for the hospitals, and let the football people do what they do for the game. And I think it'd be a lot better.
Amen. All right, Sam, you're in your one shot. It's time for your final thoughts.
Well, man, I hadn't seen you guys in a long time. Just welcome back, family. It's great to have everybody on the show. I know we communicate throughout the year, but it's just phenomenal having everybody back. I'm even got more excited. I got my shirt, my Murphy shirt on. My son's coming home Friday. Get to spend 4 days with him. Just, you never appreciate family enough. And just anytime you get an opportunity to spend it with your outside family, like Talking Preps, I really enjoy you guys. I get to enjoy my son coming home this weekend. Sometimes my family gets to come to the games. Just family, got to really appreciate what we have. And sometimes we lose sight of that, especially when that storm just came through. We just want everybody to get back to enjoy one another again. And can't wait. We got good football coming up Wednesday and Thursday this week.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is a wrap for Talking Preps. That is Sam Griner, the coach. That's the guru, Chris Hough, the number one voice high school football. Jim West, our North Carolina Eastern expert. Thanks for coming on. Dale Ross. Gary Richmond, the coach. Cam is the guru in training, the GET. I'm Langston, and we are Talking Preps.